Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. It is Tuesday at noon Eastern, and I have to start off with an apology to those who would have tried to watch this on LinkedIn. When I originally scheduled the show, I made a mistake. And when I scheduled it through StreamYard, I inadvertently scheduled it for 8 a.m., not paying attention to the fact that I wanted it for noon. So if you were there waiting for me at 8 a.m., or if you're there at noon Eastern, uh, on LinkedIn, it'll say, come over to YouTube and give you the link for it on YouTube. And I hope you can enjoy me there. I won't make that same mistake next week. It'll be done correctly. And again, I apologize. And I'll make this interview or this show readily available on LinkedIn. I'm not going to be able to take questions unless you find that link for YouTube or find me on Facebook, more likely on YouTube, where I do the live stream as well. So, again, my apologies. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, I like to spend about a half hour answering questions from people. And what I do is very simply, I try to invite people to send me questions in advance, and I take them live here. So if you've caught up with me on YouTube, please feel free to put your questions into chat. I'd be very happy to answer them. Also, on Facebook, it's facebook.com/no BS coaching advice is where the live stream appears there as well. So I've got a bunch of questions I received from people. And the first one is, how do I remove open to work on LinkedIn? So first of all, I hope that it's because you found a job. If so, congratulations. It's really 8 steps to do it. And I'll go slowly. And I'm not going to try and illustrate it because I've never had an open to work banner on my profile picture. But it starts off with logging into your LinkedIn account, clicking on your profile picture or your name in the top menu to go to your profile page. On your profile, you'll see the open to work frame around your profile picture. Hover over it, and you'll see an edit public profile and URL option appear. Click on that. Click edit public profile and URL. Scroll down to the section labeled Intro on the right-hand side. Find the Looking for New Opportunities option, which may have a toggle switch next to it. Toggle the switch off to remove the open to work frame. Scroll down and click Save to save your changes. This will remove the open to work frame from the LinkedIn profile. It may take a few minutes for the change to appear in your profile. Those are the steps to doing it. I hope that helps you. Let's move on. Another question I received, let me get back to it. Why do places say they're hiring, then after an interview, they say they are looking for other candidates? A couple of reasons. The first one starts off with they're not satisfied with you. So they're continuing to date. Imagine this is kind of like dating. So in this particular case, you two went out on a first date, and now it's the end of the date, and you want to know where you stand. And they're basically telling you, I'm going to be looking at other people. I'm going to be dating others, and I'll get back to you. So that's the real message there. They're not interested in choosing you yet. They may be interested in choosing you later. And they're basically managing your expectations by saying, I'm not ready to get married to you yet. I'm not even sure I want to go out on another date with you. I'm going to talk to other people, and we'll see where this happens in a week or two. One of the things you need to do at the end of interviews among your questions is to ask people, when might I hear from you about next steps? In asking that question, what you're doing is finding out what their timeline is for when you'd hear back from them. So let's say it's a Wednesday and they say, I'd say early part of next week. So if I haven't heard from you by Wednesday or Thursday, okay, if I follow up? And their answer, which could be one of two things, is to say, yeah, it's fine, or wait. Wait basically doesn't signal anything positive to you. They don't want to get pushed. They're clearly not enamored with you. And thus, you're in the position where you're going to be, have to just sit there and wait for them to decide. Not ideal, but at least they're being honest with you. What is a polite way to decline a job during a second or third interview when you learn the salary and perks like paid holidays, travel benefits, promotional opportunities, and such, and they offered you the position? I think it's best to stall a little bit because maybe you can find out, that there's a way to negotiate the salary upward, and you're not ready for that. So the correct response might be to say, instead of turning it down, to say, can I get back to you in a day or so? I know I've got some questions, but I'd like to formulate them clearly and circle back to you day after tomorrow. What kind of questions? I don't want to speak out of turn. I want to make sure I'm clear about them and not just come to you in a half baked manner. I was going to use a different term, but baked works fine. And thus, you're stalling. Now, you can, when you circle back to them a day or two later, say to them, I've got some questions for you, and cover some of the questions that you have, and then come to the salary conversation. The salary that you're talking about is a little low. Other firms are talking with me about X number of dollars more. Can you do a touch better? If they say no, yes, you can turn down the offer. No question about it. But I want you to get clear so that you're not doing this in the room and they have the advantage on you because they're prepared and you're not. You need to be prepared for this conversation and not just simply wing it on the spot. So, my thinking is stall for a little bit. And then from there, ask your questions directly. So, I'm just going to remind you if you're watching on YouTube to put your questions about job search into chat, and I'll try and get to them today. Matter of fact, I will get to them today as long as there are 20 of them. Okay. How can I prepare for a successful job interview in a specific industry? Well, I don't know about the specific industry because you haven't told me. I also don't know the level of the position. I know I've got a video course called the Ultimate Job Interview Framework. I have it available for rent. I have it available for purchase through the biggamehunter.us. It's also part of the different tiers of service I have at JobSearch.community. JobSearch.community is a place where I have all my content, all my courses, books, and guides in a paywall so that I'm able to offer them to you for one individual price. And that's really the way I like to broach it. So I think you're better off becoming an insider at JobSearch.community because you'll not only get what I call the ultimate job interview framework, but you'll get all my other video courses for the same price as I charge for the one course at the biggamehunter.us. I have completed a second round interview recently, but I've been informed they are completing first round interviews. Is this a bad sign? We know it's not a good sign. What it is an indication, again, like in dating, they're not ready to accept a marriage proposal. They're not ready to make a marriage proposal. They want to go back and date some more people before they circle back to you. So, very simply, is it a bad sign? It's not a good sign. It's not necessarily a bad sign unless there's something in their body language or in how they said it that signals you really stank up the joint. But barring that, because very few people are going to tip their hand in that manner, it's just they're buying time and they're being honest with you. I completed a second round interview. Because I had the same question. My apologies. What can I expect in the second interview after doing the first interview? Now, I normally will interpret that question as the first interview is with a screener. The screener is there to check boxes. Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? Based upon items in the job description. Thus, on the second interview, what they're looking for is more specifics because you'll either meet someone there to evaluate your knowledge, meet the hiring manager who's going to do that as well. And thus, you're in the position where they're going to go into more detail with you. How did you go about doing this? Tell me about a time when you did this. Whatever it is, they're going through more in-depth questions to get a sense of your knowledge vis-a-vis the role that's involved. They're trying to get a sense of how you'd fit into the organization based upon your behavior and in their own mind, comparing it with people there. Now, I'm not a big believer in evaluating for fit because, frankly, most employers are on good behavior. So you can't evaluate them for how you get along with them. And so are you. So they really can't evaluate you either. So the long and the short of it is, what they're going to do is evaluate and assess you for your capabilities vis-a-vis the role and try to get a sense of how you fit in or you might fit in based upon your behavior. Again, if you've got questions about job search, put them into chat and I'll get to them. I'm not going to say try to, I will get to them today. And anything related to finding work, I'm happy to help you with. Let's see now. How do you resign from a job that isn't what you expected? The first thing I would say is, barring something that is abominable, abusive, harassment, things along those lines, you find another job first rather than just quit. Now, if it's completely intolerable, that's different. But I'd say to you, normally what I encourage people is to find that other job on someone else's payroll and look for that job, because when firms see someone who's not working, and when it comes time to the offer, they think they got you over the barrel, so they make low offers, thinking that you have to take it or remain out of work. You lose some of your leverage when you're not working. Now, when it comes time to actually resign, let's assume it's 3 weeks later. You've been on board for 7 weeks, just for the sake of argument. It's Friday afternoon. You contact your manager and you say, "Can I speak to you for a minute?" Friday afternoon, when that message is given to people, they know you're giving notice. And if you're doing this in person, give them a piece of paper. If you're doing this online, you send them an email while you're on with them. And you say in person, I want to let you know I'm giving my notice today. I'm going to be leaving the organization. My last date is such and such. And then shut up. You don't want to go into this lengthy diatribe yet about, and I say yet because I'll come to that in 1 second, but you don't want to go into a lengthy diatribe where you're criticizing them without them inviting you to do so. If you're doing this online and you're online with them, you can say, as we're talking, I've sent a message to you letting you know I'm giving notice. And my last date of employment is going to be such and such. Why is that? Why are you quitting? You've only been here for 7 weeks. Well, frankly, when I interviewed, you told me the position was going to be such and such. And that isn't what it is. But we've had to adjust. Yes, I know adjustments happen, but had you considered contacting me before I started to let me know of that? No. Did you take that into account, or did you just believe you could shove me against the wall and make me do it? Yes, that's what you did. I don't want to do this kind of work, but we can make it good for you on the next project and the next situation that you get into. I've already found something else, and I'm going to be leaving your organization on such and such date. And you speak as calmly as I'm doing right now in order to ensure that you're not being rude or offensive, because you never know where you run into people again. And if you're a maniac ripping them a new a hole because you feel better, well, very simply, that doesn't serve you. This job doesn't need to appear on your resume in the future. Very simply, you're just going to move on and let them know when your completion date is and go to your next firm and be successful there. How do you answer, why have you applied for this job and why do you think you'd be good at this job? That's a fun question. Let me give you a fun answer to it. Well, my background matches up with the role. So you defined that you're looking for someone with this, and this background. Well, I've done this, and this in my work experience. Now, why I'd be good at it? Because I have that kind of experience. Now, there are probably things you haven't told me yet that will impact my ability to be successful. Like what? What kind of institutional friction am I going to run into in doing my job? I just don't want to be surprised. Surprises are rarely good. So the goal here is really very simple. What you want to be doing is very calmly telling them what you've done that relates to what they're looking for. As for fitting in with the people there, I haven't met anyone yet to know that. Normally, a question like this is asked by HR. No hiring manager is going to ask this. And if they do, they're idiots. An HR person, well, they have no real way of evaluating you. So what you're doing is giving them the check boxes to the job based upon what you understand it to be. And thus, what you're doing is making it easy for them to want to refer you for the next step. Got that? So why would I be good in this job? Because I'm qualified to do this kind of work. I've done it before. I can do it for you. So why are you interested? I'm trying to figure that out. I'm just talking to you right now in HR, and I haven't met my future boss. I haven't met the team. Don't have a real idea of what my role and responsibilities will be, what the expectations for me will be. So I can't tell you that I'm committed to joining your organization until I know a heck of a lot more. So you got to basically deflect certain parts of the question back at them and not come across like a wimp, like you're wussy about this, because then they feel like they can get you for low money. I've got three more questions right now. When should I send an interview follow-up email? I interviewed 3 weeks ago, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, and still have not heard back. This is my dream firm, so I really want this job. So you waited 2 weeks. You should have done it, a thank you note 2 days later. And if you followed my earlier advice and asked them, so when might I expect to hear back from you about next steps? You know exactly when to follow up because whatever they told you, you'd ask. So if I haven't heard from you by, and you mentioned 2 days after that, is it okay if I follow up? And that would give you permission to do that. Now you're basically 2 weeks behind the curve, don't know when it's right. Ask them during the interview. In this particular case, it's been 2 weeks. I would message the last person you spoke with who's in a position of authority. If it was a hiring manager, you contact them. If you only met with HR, you contact them and say, "Hi, I interviewed with you on 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard back. I'm really interested in this opportunity. Um, when When do you think I'll be invited back? Be that assertive about it. What are some tips for answering the tell me about a time when question in a job interview? That beginning to an interview question is like the invitation to story time. Once upon a time, I was working for such and such firm where I was involved with such and such. And joking aside, it's the opportunity to tell a concise story about what you did that relates to what they're asking you about. So, concise means a minute to a minute 15. Why? Because people stop listening after a while. And the format, if you're at a staff level, is STAR, situation or task, action, result. If you're at a manager level and above, but below C suite, below senior leadership, it might be something along the lines of situation, obstacle, action, result. And if you're in very senior leadership, problem, action, result. Result always includes a metric: money saved, money earned, percentage improvement over what previously existed. And thus, what you're able to do is engage them in a story. And I'm saying concise because at the end of that, you'll say to them, if you like, I can go into more detail with you. And they'll either say, sure, love to hear more. And then you have permission to go further. Remember, you don't want to put them to sleep. And if you go into a lengthy monologue, as someone once did to me when I was doing recruiting, it was horrible. After 5 minutes of them rambling on, I raised my hand and I said, do you remember my original question? Because they were asking every question they thought I might ever ask. And they said, no, I don't. But they had been on so many interviews, they thought they knew what my script and my playbook was. They were completely wrong. And I politely told them about their mistake and what to do with it. And this case, it's kind of like old-fashioned dancing, where one person leads and one person follows. Now, the interesting thing about following in this old-fashioned dancing is that you can guide the person leading from the position of following. And that's what you really need to do, is to let them lead, but you guide them through your answer to where you want to take them. And thus, you're in the position where you're in charge, but you're not leading the dance. So that's what I would say to you. I'm just going to remind you one more time, if you've got a question about job search, put it into chat and I will get to it. I've got one more question for today and then I'm going to wrap. So please put it into chat. I want to help you. Okay. How do recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates? What do they look for when searching? So it's really very simple. What recruiters look for is someone who might be qualified for their client's open position so they can earn a fee. So they've got a job description to look for. On their side, there's a product called LinkedIn Recruiter that allows them to search the entire database on LinkedIn of 900 million people. So they're searching by keywords, particular skills that you might have, what you've done. Sometimes they'll work in degree, sometimes they won't. They're definitely going to tighten up on geographic area because they need to make sure that you're in the right location for them. It doesn't help them if you're in Finland and the job is in the United States. They want to get a sense of your seniority because if you're at a SVP level and this is a staff level position, doesn't work, does it? Doesn't work for you, doesn't work for them. So they're doing the equivalent of what's called a long tail keyword search. They're starting off with as many search criteria as possible to find someone who's going to fit their client's requirements so that they can get an interview in front of their client. That's really it. They'll message you through an email. They'll contact you directly through some other means. But the goal for them is to find someone who might be qualified interested, available for a new role, who's persuadable to join. And then from there, they're trying to find someone who gets their client interested, because unless the client is interested in hiring you, they don't make any money to do that. So that's today's show. For those on LinkedIn, I apologize. I made a mistake. I know 50 some odd of you signed on to be here, but it's really for noon Eastern. So I'll be back next week with more. I'm Jeff Altman. I want to encourage you, come to JobSearch.community and join me there. Even if you just go to the homepage, I've got free content there to help you. Plus, if you become an insider, there's a lot more information about interviewing, answering tough interview questions, video courses, books, and guides. There's stuff there to help you. Plus, each day I log on and answer questions from people. Also, if you become an Insider Plus member, in addition to all of that, I will also jump on a Zoom call with you so that I can help you more quickly. And if you become an Insider Premium member, we do one-on-one or group coaching, so that in this way, we work to get you the next job faster. After all, the skills needed to find a job are different from those needed to do a job. You may be very good at what you do, but finding a job is a different skill set. I can't do what you do for a living, and you're less good at what I do for a living. So take advantage of my expertise. Let me help you land your next role. Again, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. People hire me for no BS job search advice and career coaching globally because I make everything much easier for people. Have a terrific day and be great.